There are some weeks where I am absolutely 100% certain by Wednesday of that week what it is that God is leading me to say to you. What God is laying and leading me to say, what I think needs to be said, what I think needs to be heard. And then there are those weeks when, right up to the moment when I stand before you, either in the pulpit or down here, when I have absolutely zero certainty whatsoever. Today is more of the latter. Because today, I am supposed to talk to y'all about death. Not just any kind of death, but I'm supposed to talk to you about a special kind of death, martyrdom. The kind of death that's defined as dying with a purpose. The kind of death that's defined as death because of a deeply held, faithfully practiced set of beliefs. Today is Stained Glass Sunday. And our focus this week is right here, on this window in particular, that appears on the cover of your bulletin. So today I am supposed to talk to you about the martyrdom of Peter at the hands of the evil Emperor Nero. Nero who liked to gaslight, Nero who liked to blame other people, mainly Christians, for the fire that destroyed Rome, the fire that he actually started. I'm supposed to talk to you about the martyrdom of Peter, which was a death like that, the death of Jesus, the crucifixion. But unlike Jesus, whose death was actually caused by suffocation, Peter was crucified upside down, we are told. As for why that was the case, well, that just depends upon your preference, whether you choose to believe history or choose to believe legend. But make no mistake, the death of Peter was a martyr's death. Peter executed. Because of his faithfulness to his discipleship, Peter executed. Because of his faithfulness to Jesus. And as we know, it was not a faithfulness that came easy for Peter. 3 times Peter denied Jesus. 3 times. And 3 times Jesus asked, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Do you love me more than these, Peter? More than any of these other disciples, he asked the first time. Do you love me more than any of these? Do you love me? Do you love me? Yes, Lord, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And feed my lambs. Tend my sheep. Feed my sheep. And then from Jesus comes a foreshadowing. There was a time, said Jesus to Peter, when you were younger, you fastened your own belt around your waist and you went anywhere it was that you wanted to go. But Peter, when you get old, the time is going to come when you will stretch out your arms and somebody else will fasten that belt around your waist, and then you will be led to a place I can promise you do not want to go to. I'm supposed to talk to you this morning about the death of Peter, but right now, I really don't want to talk about death anymore. One, because I'm not sure I know how to in a way that is very productive at this moment. And two, right now, I have had my fill of martyrs' deaths. I have had my fill of people being threatened with death because of how they think or because of how they believe. I have had my fill of people dying because of their faith, because of how they practice their beliefs. I am tired of people dying simply because of the color of their skin. I'm tired of talking and talking and talking about deaths and about martyrdom. I don't want to talk about it anymore. In part, I don't want to talk about it because I do not want to face the fact that in the year 2018 in the United States of America, we still actually have martyrs' deaths. And I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to face the fact that in the year 2018 in the United States of America, Nero is still up there playing the fiddle while Rome burns. This week we have seen acts of violence that I wish I could stand up here and say to y'all, they're unprecedented. But come on, y'all, you know that's not the case. We have seen this before. 14 pipe bombs sent through the mail with the intent to kill, to maim, and destroy. A man in Louisville, Kentucky, walks into a Kroger and randomly shoots an African-American grandfather several times, killing him as he shopped with his grandson. Then the gunman went outside the store, shot and killed a woman, also an African-American woman. And when approached in the parking lot by another man, the shooter walked by and said to him, "It's okay because whites don't shoot whites. You'll be fine." And then yesterday, a gunman walked into Tree of Life Synagogue where community members had gathered together for Shabbat services. They had come, y'all, to honor the Sabbath, to show their faithfulness to God, just like each one of us have done today. And they were shot and they were killed. Why? Because they're Jewish. No other reason. No other reason than because they're Jewish. And because there was and there is still so much hatred towards a segment of God's people simply because of how they worship and because of how they relate to God. But anti-Semitism is nothing new in our country. Neither is racism, neither is homophobia, neither is Islamophobia, neither is transphobia, neither is. Tree of Life Synagogue now joins Mother Emanuel, AME Church from Charleston, South Carolina, where a gunman entered into this historic African-American faith community, sat in Bible study with them, shot and killed 9 people, including their pastor. Tree of Life Synagogue now joins 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama. In 1963, 4 members of the Klan placed 15 sticks of dynamite, attached it to a timer, and put it underneath a stairwell. And it exploded, and it killed 4 young girls who were in the basement of the church, putting on their robes so they could go upstairs to worship. They were putting on their robes so they could go upstairs to worship and hear a sermon entitled "A Love That Forgives." Where Jesus seems to be tying together love and forgiveness. Cannot help but wonder if the biblical text for that morning's sermon was to have been this passage from John, where Jesus seems to be forgiving Peter for his denial and his betrayal. Do you love me more than these? He asked. Well, do you? Yes. Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Yes, yes, yes. Then follow me, he said. Follow me, Jesus said to Peter. Don't follow the world, follow me. Now, it's easy and it's common to hear the reading from this morning in the context of Peter's denial. Peter denied Jesus 3 times. Jesus asked Peter 3 times. Peter says yes 3 times. All is forgiven. That's a faithful reading of that text. It's appropriate to do so and connect those things. But there is also another context from which to hear our text from John 21 this morning that is just as faithful. It's a both and, not an either or. And that context is found within some of Jesus' final words to his disciples, John 15. There he was on that night in which he was betrayed. Before his arrest, before the garden, before his trial, before Pilate. He's gathered, remember, with his disciples in the upper room. It's the farewell discourse. He's saying goodbye. He has some last things he wants to say to them. And he gives to them that night a final command. The final command that we remember and honor and celebrate every year during Holy Week, Maundy, Thursday. That's why it's called Maundy, Thursday. Maundy, command. This is my command, that you love one another just as I have loved you. That you love one another just as I have loved you. And immediately after he gives that command, Jesus says this, no one has greater love than this, than to lay down one's life for one's friends. Than to lay down one's life for one's friends. There is no greater sign of love than this. Love one another as I have loved you. Lay down one's life. Peter, do you love me? Yes. Feed my lambs. Peter, do you love me? Yes. Tend to my sheep. Peter, do you love me? Yes. Feed my sheep. Love one another as I have loved you. Lay down one's life. Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Yes, yes, yes. Follow me. Follow me, Jesus says. But know this, that following me in love, is going to take you places you do not want to go. Following me in love is going to make you very unpopular with some folk that you actually like and respect. And you're going to rub them the wrong way. Following me in love is going to put you in direct conflict with some of the most tightly held desires and some of the most tightly held beliefs of the culture. But if you mean it, if you truly hold this deeply held set of beliefs built upon love, it means you have to die to the culture. You have to die to idolatry. You have to die to hatred. It all has to die. 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 A martyr's death. A martyr's death in the name of Jesus Christ. And unless we don't hold those beliefs as deeply as we think, unless we don't hold those beliefs as deeply as we want others to think we do, because it's unpopular to stand up in the crowd of friends and to speak against hatred and bigotry and idolatry and sinfulness, because we don't want to be labeled as that guy or that gal who just doesn't know how to take a joke. But if you are serious about following in love, then that's what has to do, what you have to do. I don't want to talk about death anymore because there's been too much of it. At least the wrong kind of it. There are some things that have to die. There are some things that have to die. Y'all, we need to decide. And it can start right here, but we need to decide as a culture, but we, us, also. Do words have impact? I'm asking. This isn't a rhetorical question now. Do words have impact? Do words influence? What's their power? What's their influence? Action. Behavior. If that's the case, if y'all believe that, and I think you do, sadly there are those who don't, but if you believe that, and I think you do, we have to decide what words are we going to choose. Because those words dictate behaviors. Those words dictate behaviors. And those words can transform behaviors as well. Words can transform behaviors as well. And those words for some, those words for many, can be literally the difference between life and death.